Welcome to this explainer. Look, think back over your life for just a second. How many times have you learned a totally profound, life-altering lesson just a little bit too late? We all do it, right? We stumble, we fall, and then, years down the road, we finally see the absolute clarity of what we should have known all along. Well, today, we're not just looking at some typical list of advice. We're going on a deep dive into a powerful set of life axioms that, frankly, most people realize way too late in the game. Our goal today? Bypass that learning curve entirely and unpack these truths right now while you can actually still use them to change your trajectory. So our source material today is this beautifully simple, highly viral list originally written in Russian, and it translates to 7 things you understand too late. But rather than just reading down a list of translated bullet points, we're going to decode this. We're taking these 7 isolated, profound points and structuring them into a cohesive, highly actionable life philosophy. We're going to break them down and find the hidden connections between them so you can truly internalize the mechanics of how they all work together. Okay, let's dive right into our structural roadmap for today. We've got 5 themes to optimize our learning: money, calm, and control, decisions over hard work, the high cost of fear, environment and daily habits, and finally, one thought changes everything. All right, kicking things off with theme number 1, money, calm, and control, the mechanics of wealth. Think about the last time you made a truly expensive mistake, right? Whether it was, buying a car, investing in a stock, or honestly, even just rushing an important business email. Were you completely at peace when you made that move, or were you rushing? Point number 1 from our source translates perfectly to this: money loves calm. And the subtitle states that the most expensive mistakes are made in a hurry. It's this fascinating little micro-narrative about finance and human psychology. We usually associate wealth generation with aggressive action, the fast-paced trading floor, the hustle, the rapid-fire moves. But this axiom completely flips that on its head. It tells us that the most costly errors in your life, both in personal finance and just broader life choices, almost always occur when you're acting in a state of panic, haste, or anxiety. True wealth preservation requires a steady pulse. Now, what's really interesting is how we can seamlessly connect that idea to point number 6 from our source material. Point 6 notes that a high income absolutely does not equal financial calm, and that money inherently flows to where it's properly managed. Earning a massive salary doesn't guarantee you peace of mind if your financial life is just totally chaotic. So the crucial takeaway here is that true financial control isn't just about the volume of money coming in. It requires active, calm management of those resources. If you're frantic, the money just slips away. But if you're calm and organized, the money stays, and it grows. Moving right along to theme 2, decisions over hard work, the leverage of choice. So here, we're shifting our focus away from financial capital and moving directly into how we deploy our human effort and our time. And this brilliantly illustrates point number 2 from our source text. Look, our modern society absolutely loves to glorify endless hours of work, right? We measure dedication by the clock. But the original text states a really profound truth. Not everything is measured in hours. One decision can change more than years of hard work. We often picture years of just grinding, sweating, pushing a boulder up a hill. But compare that to the immense leverage of choice. I mean, you could work 80 hours a week in the totally wrong direction and get absolutely nowhere. But taking a moment to make one highly leveraged, pivotal decision, like changing your career path, moving to a new city, or choosing the right partner, that can alter your entire life trajectory in a single instant. It's really about working smart through strategic choices rather than just relying on brute force. Which leads us to theme 3, the high cost of fear and what holds us back. Now, you might be wondering, if a single decision is so powerful, why don't we make them more often? Why do we stay stuck in the years of hard work instead? Well, point number 3 from our list is perhaps the most sobering. It says, fear is expensive. We more often regret what we haven't done. I really want you to just stop and think about that for a second. How many opportunities have you let slip by because of the fear of failure, or even just the fear of looking foolish? We obsess over the potential cost of failing, but we rarely calculate the compounding, invisible cost of doing nothing. At the end of the road, the source material warns us the heaviest toll on your conscience won't be your mistakes, it'll be your inaction. It's going to be the leaps you never took. Okay, on to theme 4, environment and daily habits, the long-distance run. To actually overcome that fear and position ourselves to make those pivotal decisions, we've got to examine the mechanics of our daily lives. We can't just rely on sudden bursts of courage, right? We need systems.
Point number 4 describes this really insidious, almost invisible progression. It says, environment changes standards. We get used to considering what we see every day as the norm. First, you see something every day. Maybe it's a messy workspace, maybe it's negative people complaining all the time, or just a low standard of excellence. Second, because you're constantly exposed to it, it subtly becomes your new normal. It literally stops shocking you. And third, without you even realizing it, it changes your personal standards. What you surround yourself with dictates your baseline behavior. If you want to change your life, you have to ruthlessly curate your environment.
And, that environment is largely built by our habits. Let's look at point number 5, which deals exactly with this. The original text notes that important habits seem boring, but they are exactly what changed life over a long distance. We live in a world that is totally addicted to the quick dopamine hit, the fast result, the viral hack. We'd all love a button that just instantly gives us a six-pack or $1 million. But the habits that actually dictate your success, getting 8 hours of sleep, saving 10% of your income, reading, practicing a skill daily, they aren't flashy. Actually, scratch that. They seem downright boring in the moment. But over the long run, they are the absolute bedrock of massive, permanent life changes.
Which brings us to our final theme, number 5. One thought changes everything. The epiphany.
So we've covered money, decisions, fear, and habits. Now we're building to the climax of this explainer, connecting all of these distinct ideas into one final, overarching realization about the human mindset. Point number 7, the final axiom from our source, is focused entirely on the power of this single number, 1. It states that just one thought can change everything. It doesn't take a massive library of books or decades of therapy to flip the switch in your mind. Sometimes it's literally just a single perspective shift, a single realization about your money, your fear, or your environment that completely shatters your previous worldview and sets you on a brand new path. But there's a really crucial second half to that final point. The main thing is to hear it in time. This perfectly captures the tragic irony of our source material's title, right? 7 things you understand too late. These epiphanies, these single thoughts that can change everything, they are always out there waiting for us. But the real tragedy is that we often go deaf to them until we've already paid the price of missing them. The urgency here is absolutely paramount. You have to cultivate an open mind and actively listen for these truths right now, while you still have the runway to let them transform your life. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this. We've decoded the mechanics of wealth, the immense leverage of a single decision, the crushing cost of fearful inaction, and the silent power of your environment. But honestly, none of that matters if you don't internalize it. What is the one thought you need to hear today? Which of these axioms struck a nerve for you? Don't be the person who understands these lessons too late. Take that one thought, apply it to your life today, and change your trajectory. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive.